Welcome, I will be reviewing Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 1, Episode 9. These are just my running thoughts as I was watching the episode. All those who wander. I couldn't help wondering if that was a Lord of the Rings reference. The not all those who wander are lost. Please tell me we're getting more swords. Speaking of which, last week, Ortegas, I think, was using Aragorn's Ranger Sword. Here she is, with her sword. And here is Aragorn's Ranger Blade. Well played, Star Trek. Before I freak out about Uhura potentially leaving due to her assignment being over, look at this food. As if I needed more reasons to join the crew. Salmon, tomatoes, artichokes. Brunch on the Enterprise. Definitely adding that to my bucket list. You are dedicated, hardworking, collaborative, and exemplary. Imagine hearing that from you, supervisor. Wow. I love Pike's leadership style, and I hope that she chooses to stay. I know you're thinking she's on the Enterprise later, but she could have gone on other ships in between. The apron is back! That is all. I have nothing else to say here, just #apron time. Wait, it's getting better. Spock now has the apron. Ha 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 ha. La'an, you're next. This is another subtle thing, but you know how Trekkies can get really nitpicky? In this case, I'm doing it in a good way because La'an is known to go for strawberries as her comfort food. Notice what's on her plate. Someone in the writer's room or on set noted that detail and made sure strawberries ended up on her plate. Also, I'm not sure about separating the ship from the landing party if something goes wrong. I realize they don't really have a choice, but I like that Una pointed that out as a potential issue. She always seems to notice these concerns, which I really appreciate. Everyone else is all bundled up. Spock even has goggles on, and Hemmer is out here going, yes. Now this is weather. As someone who also prefers it cold, I agree with this sentiment here. I really dread summertime. Poor Spock. Another human drinking game. Does their number have no limit? I love his dry humor. Based on the breadcrumbs we've gotten so far, I've seen several references to the Gorn. I'm guessing they're coming back this episode. Looks like a bunch of the original crew made a run for it, but the freezing climate took them out. It looks like a bunch of the original crew made a run for it and then ended up freezing, which begs the question, what were they running from that you'd go straight into a storm like that? Am I the only one thinking, uh-oh, random ensign we haven't seen much before takes prominent role? Is she a red shirt? And Gorn it is. Yeah, I had a feeling it was not White Walkers. That captain's last words, stay away. If you're watching this, chances are we didn't survive. Looks like Star Trek and the Orville decided to do a horror episode. I was impressed by La'an's reaction here. The first time the Gorn showed up, she just totally lost it. This time, after processing the information, you could see the determined passion in her eyes just light up. That we're going to save everyone this time. We're going to get them out. Magnificent job using mystery to bring the Gorn in as a terrifying race, almost worse than the Borg. They have come a long way since that rubber suit incident. The scene where they meet the refugees, I'm not sure about. If I was on a monster-infested ship, there is no way I would be putting my phaser down. And why didn't they leave at least one person behind to guard? Now I think Lieutenant Duke might be doomed also. I'm beginning to like him, and he's not a regular cast member. Pretty sure he's doomed. I really enjoy Hemmer and Uhura's relationship. He's an unlikely mentor, not really a people person, but they seem to click together well, and it seems like she feels most comfortable letting her guard down around him. I think it's because he's good at listening and doesn't just tell people what to do. He's sort of there as a very wise sounding board with occasional bits of advice, like this one. You create bonds. It's a gift, and it will hurt, but the love it yields far outweighs the sorrow. That's beautifully said. I'm similar to Uhura in that I've been burned so many times that I'm like, it's not worth it. You know, it's just painful. Why bother? So this episode was particularly interesting to me, really resonated. All right, I can see La'an's concern here. Why are these two alive? They are not exactly fighters. I think they're infected. At least one of them is. Not sure which one. Poor Mbanga too, that little slip, calling the kid his daughter. Oh, even though she's still alive, that was a shock last episode. And I'm glad that they brought up the fact that he's not okay. Even though this is an episodic show, the characters don't completely forget what happened the week before the next episode, which is really nice. When the older aliens started showing strange signs of internal bleeding going on, and Oriana was like, I am out, and ran off, I went, oh no, I think La'an's suspicions were correct. He's infected. Also, there is no way this ensign is coming out alive. R.I.P. in advance. A few minutes later, yeah, I called it. Oh, that scene with all those tiny Gorns just, oh, body horror. I was yelling at the screen, Christine, get out of there. Oh no, this means Lieutenant Duke is next, I bet. Run, Duke, run! And it's too late. He's gone. Yeah. Even Spock was starting to look nervous at this point. And then I remembered that scene earlier when Chapel was telling him, hey, it's okay to be angry every now and then. It's totally human and you are part human. I have a feeling that's going to come up again later this episode. Oh no, Hemmer is infected too now. He got... I realized after watching the episode that it was supposed to be a big reveal that Hemmer got infected, because everyone was like, oh, that just was acid or something. Orville fans, you know why I instantly was like, and he's infected. Kids, run. This is kind of funny that watching the Orville was actually a spoiler to Star Trek, because I know there's a lot of joking around that it's actually a Star Trek series. So, remember when you were a kid and you didn't want to put your feet out of bed at night because the monsters might get you? Yeah, I'm getting that vibe right now with Nurse Chapel, like trying to put her foot down on the floor and just being like, I don't, there are tiny Gorn trying to kill me. Yeah, the minute you see them, dead. Oh. I was pretty much like this at that point in the episode. No wonder they took out the entire crew. But why Oriana? Why is she alive? I'm suddenly quite suspicious of her. Maybe she's just really smart about hiding and being quiet. You could see how shook the team was getting at this point. I was also shrieking and jumping a lot in this episode. I think Kirk and I had a similar reaction. Just like, nope, none of this, I'm out. Okay, so we need to get them out into the cold, but without being caught up in a storm on the way back. It sounds like a good plan in theory, except we heard earlier that there was a terrible storm on the way. Yep, Spock just confirmed it. The storm has started and they're stuck on this ship with the Gorn. It kind of started feeling like a 1920s murder mystery at this point, only with tiny murder lizards. Sam Kirk really had the most realistic reaction to this situation, where he was just completely freaked out by it. And I'm like, thank you for putting a character like that in, because sometimes the uber calm Starfleet, oh yes, we are being hunted and slowly taken out. I get it, some people are able to do that, but not everyone. This is great teamwork here. Once the emotions were out of the way and Pike got them back on track, everyone was contributing and you could really see them coming together as a group, and that being their strength as the crew of the Enterprise. This was just a tiny little background scene, but did you see how Dr. Mbenga gave Oriana a little piggyback ride to the bridge and then put her in the captain's chair where she would feel safe? I actually went back and replayed it like 3 times because it was so adorable, and it was just in the way far back. I only noticed it on a whim because I think the Doctor is really cool, so I was watching him. The scene is really focused on Pike, but I'm telling you, go back, rewatch the scene where the two of them get to the bridge. The cuteness factor. The Doctor is just such an awesome dad. Like, in the middle of this horrendous situation, his main concern here is with raising the spirits of this kid, making sure that she feels safe. All right, at this point in the episode, I was just shrieking, and I was actually DMing a friend of mine on Facebook with just completely losing it. I had just had a long day at work. I was like, oh, watch it before I go to bed. That was such a mistake. Like, this is not an episode to watch by yourself at night. If this was me, I would have just climbed into the nearest refrigerator and been like, let me know when this is over, guys, because there is no way I'm dealing with tiny murder Gorn. And here we go, the Spock anger scene. At first, I was like, oh, yeah, Vulcans have intense anger, so he'll let it out and he'll put it back in the box. Except did it work? Was he able to really shut it off afterward? He looked a little bit shaken. This was such a huge moment for La'an. It was almost like her entire life of survival led to it. She was facing her fear straight on, unarmed, confident that she had a solid team behind her who had her back. What a plan here! They used the combined adrenaline revenge rush from La'an and then careful planning by the rest of the crew getting that trap set. Yeah, kick that Gorn. You go, girl. Kick it. I have a feeling that this is a huge breakthrough for her. At first, when Hemmer revealed he was infected, I was like, yeah, I know. We know about the cold. Maybe he could just go outside and little babies would like die inside of him or something. And then they started acting like he wouldn't make it. And I was like, they would not take Hemmer away from us. They can't do that. No. If they do that, I will flip the table. Like, no. And then he and Spock started doing this goodbye scene. I was like, no. And then he turns to Uhura and says that line, make a home, and you will find joy more often than sadness. We're gonna lose him, aren't we? Okay, I'm crying again just thinking about it. Hemmer was my 3rd favorite character on the show. I was expecting a full season, at least, but no. At this point, I was like, I hate you, Strange New Worlds. Like, you made me love this character so much, and then you just get it. That's it? Why would you do this to us as fans? It's like watching Game of Thrones. And then what a turning point for Uhura. Losing her mentor like this when she's in the middle of trying to decide whether or not to even stay in Starfleet. Oh, and then Ortegas started giving that speech at the funeral. And then Uhura started and said his main purpose was to fix what was broken, and he did that. I was not expecting this again. Guess you're getting a bit of my reaction after all. And then Spock is clearly not okay either. He was not able to put his emotions back in the box as well as he thought he could. I'm worried about him too now. And then by this point in the episode, I was a wreck. And then La'an is like, and I'm leaving? And I was like, no, you're my favorite character. I can't lose my 1st and 3rd characters that I love the most, like, in the same episode. I mean, I get it. Oriana needed to find her family after what she went through, and someone had to go follow the clues. And it made sense that it was La'an because she understood. But she made it sound like it was goodbye for a long time. Like, probably the rest of the season. This is basically like when I read the final Harry Potter book, and the minute Dobby went, I was like, I can't. I just, it's just Dobby all over again, you know? Even though they ended on a somewhat happy note with Uhura deciding to stay, which was really lovely. In fact, it was wonderful that they put that little sound effect from the original series at her station loudly in that scene, that foreshadowing of her future position. I was still just bawling, just going through Kleenex at that point. There's not much more to say because if this had been a reaction, there would have been no review at all. It would have been me ugly crying and shouting no over and over. Speaking of no, I do not want to see Scotty next week. We are not ready. We need time to mourn. Go hang out with Claire and Jamie at Lallybroch or something. I can't deal with this until next season. No, Scotty. Some of us loved Hammer so much that if this was just an excuse to bring in that other character, I was absolutely outstanding job by the writers in this episode. They ripped my heart out, they stomped on it, and then they walked away. Next week had better be a fun episode because I don't know about you, but directly after watching this one, I had to go back and watch last week's because I was just sobbing. I can't believe they took Hammer like that. Yeah, that's all I've got because I'm losing it again. Let me know in the comments, are you excited about potentially seeing Scotty, or are you like me and just like, I can't. Not yet.